How's it going out there? It is Sunday in South Carolina. Welcome to the Touchdowns podcast. We are live at Touchdowns and 5 Points. I'm Beck Dugas along with my brother Thomas. This is instant reaction to the game that happened last night here in Columbia. The Gamecocks take down Kentucky 35-13 was the final. Night game here in Columbia. Great atmosphere to start off the night. I was in the stadium. Shout out my buddy Joe Fennessy, aka Lloyd Christmas, hooked me up with the zone ticket. So I got the all 22 view. It was wonderful sitting up in the zone, and we had a great time at the game. My instant reaction to this game is the offense still is not where we want it to be. You know, I'm never going to complain about a win, especially one that really in the fourth quarter the game was never in question. From that perspective, you got to tip your hat to the Gamecocks. But with that being said, 2 defensive touchdowns. Our guy Dylan Stewart, who I've been somewhat critical of, just saying that he's made some bonehead plays and hasn't really shown great leadership, being the best player on the defense, but huge play to force the fumble, and Jataeus Gear scooped it up and scored, and I think that was a big moment in the game. They were up 10-7, and they were driving towards midfield, and so that kind of flipped the game on its head. Then we get the pick six from Gerald Kilgore, which was amazing, but still from this game, a lot of great, but we have the bye week hopefully to get healthy and correct things. But this offense is still kind of living and dying by the offensive line, and we didn't get a great push from the offensive line. I think we averaged 3 yards a carry, had some great runs. Rasul, the 2 touchdown runs were great blocking. Rasul made some guys miss. So not all bad, but still just not the consistency we want to see from this offense, being able to sustain drives, score points, and hopefully we can go into the bye week, work on some things, but never going to complain about a win. It was a great night in Columbia. I had a blast, and so Thomas, what are your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, so I'm really excited that we're able to record our reaction together. Beck was in town for the game, so this is a rare opportunity for us to be in the same place for an episode. But because of the timeline of that, I haven't had the opportunity to go back and rewatch it. I was working during the game last night, so take all of my opinions with a grain of salt because I was kind of trying to watch each play in between making drinks, and I didn't always see the start or end of the play. But a couple things that do jump out to me. I think the coaches are listening to the podcast because Boaz Stanley did not start at center last night. It was Sidney Newsome. Also, we saw a couple of those play action boots that Beck has been begging for since week 1. And Matthew Fuller saw some extra workload. He definitely got a bulk of the carries at the end of the game when the game was decided. But his first touch came in the first half when the game was very much still in question. I agree that I'm not satisfied with our ability to run the football in a traditional sense. We're still living and dying by explosive plays. I thought Lenoris looked more like himself running the football than he has so far this season. So maybe it's just that he's another week removed from the injury that he suffered against Vanderbilt. He really wasn't feeling 100% himself against Missouri. And this week he felt more comfortable with being a little bit more physical as a runner. The sack that he took that pushed us back out of field goal range, and I think we shanked the punt after that. I was about ready to to lose my mind on him, but when they showed the replay, Kentucky ran a stunt. The guy came free immediately. We had 3 guys blocking one guy and nobody blocking the guy that was putting pressure on Lenoris. And so, he was in the middle of the pocket. If he would have thrown it away, it would have been intentional grounding anyways. I know he lost some additional yardage, trying to break the tackle and having the guy back him up. But, I would just like to see us be able to block that stunt. I know that stunts are difficult, and our scoop and score touchdown, we ran a stunt on that play. Dylan looped around from the outside, and that's what sprang him on that play. So they were effective for us as well. But had we been able to pick that up properly, Lenoris had Mazio, wide open over the middle. Could have been another big touchdown pass. So I like that we are trying new combinations at offensive line. I like that we are trying to be more balanced and stick with the running game in some sense, give other guys touches. But yeah, we still need to play better offensively if we expect to win some of these games coming up in this tough middle stretch of the season.
Yeah, I like what you said about Lenoris. He didn't put his head down, I think, against Missouri. A lot of those runs against Missouri, he was looking to the sideline to get to the sideline, or he was looking to slide. I think he ran with more volition last night, and he made a lot of great plays too, get scrambling out of the pocket, and just looked like him. I think probably the one that's going viral is the spin move,
right,
where he got out to the right, and we love seeing that. We've talked about it.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody,
you got to live with those plays when you get the sacks.
Correct. You don't get the play where he spins out of it and picks up the first down if you coach that out of him. So as frustrating as it was to take the sack on the play that I just discussed, you have to let him try and do that if you want to have the play where he does spin out of it and pick up the first down.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, you can't coach that out of him. It's who he is. It's what makes him great. He didn't throw any touchdown passes last night. We were able to punch in 3 rushing touchdowns, which was good to see. Like I said, there was some holes, a little bit of holes, and Matthew Fuller ran great. Faison ran great on those touchdowns.
Oscar had some nice runs.
So it's not all bad. You just want to see more consistency from the offense. It's going to be hard to move the ball on these defenses that we're going to see in October. LSU, their offense hasn't been good at all, but their defense has been great this season. Oklahoma is always going to have a great defense with Brent Venables. We'll see about the Mateer situation, but this offense is going to have to be able to move the ball, and we can't rely on 2 touchdowns from the defense to be able to win against these other teams. We talked about Kentucky. It was the first start for this freshman quarterback. I thought the crowd was great. I thought we really gave him a couple easy ones early in the game. They got around the edge in the running game and were able to get some first downs. But when we made that guy beat us, that's when we started winning the game. We were able to shut down the running game and force him to throw, and he started making mistakes. So I thought that was a great effort by the defense and scoring 14 points. Where do you think this team can go from here, Thomas? We're 3-2. At the beginning of the season, when we looked at the schedule, we wanted to be 5-0 going into the bye week. Obviously, that's not reality. There's still a lot on the table for this team going into the bye week. It's great to have a home win going into the bye week, get some confidence, get some health. I think that'll be huge. I don't know that Judge played much last night. Did you notice
that's one of the things that like I wasn't able to
Okay.
identify with the way that I was taking in the game. But to answer your question, I don't know why I fall victim to it, and we all fall victim to trying to apply the transitive property every year. Just for example, yesterday, you have a Florida State team that upsets Alabama week 1, lose to Virginia. I lost one of my DB Blitz picks, taking Tennessee -7.5 because of how impressed I was with their performance the prior week against Georgia. And they barely beat Mississippi State. And Mississippi State may be just better than we expected them to be this year. Bama upsets Georgia, if you want to call that an upset. But Ole Miss beats LSU. I don't think that there are any truly, truly dominant teams like we kind of became accustomed to in years past with Nick Saban at Alabama and some other, some of those Georgia teams were just so deep. The portal and NIL has really, really, really leveled out the competitive depth, because these elite tier programs, they're still getting better players than smaller schools, but it's harder for them to just hold on to their 2 and 3 deep.
Right.
Like, 10 years ago,
Saban had 5 stars on the bench.
They could just stack guys up, and he would have 4 number 1 recruiting classes in a row, and you have top 100 players just sitting there waiting to play. Now those guys are going to where they can get on the field and earn an NIL money. So it's just every week is a different matchup, and you just have to find a way to win the game. We were able to find a way to win this game. I don't think that we'll be very successful for the rest of the season if we can't find a way to run the ball more consistently. But we really do have to take this season 1 week at a time, and no game, unless there's a major injury or we just let it get to us mentally, no one outcome of a game is going to affect the next week's outcome. And even if we would have beaten Kentucky 100-0 and the offense looked great, we would have had to find a way. We still would have needed to go into this bye week and have a great game plan ready for LSU. So hopefully that's what we do.
Yeah. I just want to remind people I'm eating the best Philly cheesesteak in Columbia as we're recording. Thomas whipped it up this morning here at TD's, touchdowns, bragging 5 points. Gearing up for NFL Sunday, Dollar Wings down here on Sundays. So come get you a Philly cheesesteak, a cold drink, or some Dollar Wings Sundays at TD's. But I'm with you, Thomas. This team, we still have everything in front of us. Unfortunately, our 2, what you want to call them, fuck-ups, we used those early in the season, and we were hoping to be 5-0 going into this bye week, where the meat of the schedule really gets tough, and we're able to. If you have a game where you don't play your best, you lose. And
Vanderbilt and Missouri are still undefeated.
But still,
what if Vanderbilt beats Alabama this week?
That's the game of the week this week, which is crazy to say.
But Vanderbilt. But I say all that to say this: we as fans, of course, we there's nothing to do in the off season. So you stare at that schedule for 7 months, trying to just visualize what's going to happen and project and predict, and we get it wrong. I mean, you grab a hold of narratives, and obviously, I think it's true that we aren't as good as we had hoped or expected to be. That I'm definitely not dismissing that, but I think that it's possible that we're sitting here in week 10, week 11, and
those losses
don't look as bad as
right.
they felt.
But they're still losses.
They are losses, and we there's no margin for
and
error.
they're conference losses.
But I think that everyone going into the season expected to lose. I don't think. I mean, I actually did. Think that we could go undefeated if the ball bounced our way.
I predicted us 10-2.
But yes,
still on track for that.
Everyone had us dropping a game or two over the course of the season.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a gauntlet to not lose again. But if that happens,
it's still on the table.
It's still on the table.
But yeah, and I think to your point, it's valid because in today's era of college football, I don't think we're going to see undefeated teams anymore. Like you said, the depth of talent with the transfer portal, guys aren't sitting around when you have a guy like, at Bama, who's a 5-star guy. He's one of the best players in the country, and he's willing to sign at Bama to sit behind another guy because that guy's going to play for a year and then be a first-round pick.
Right.
And then that guy can come in and take his spot. And you're just not seeing that anymore with the transfer portal. Guys are getting paid. So these rosters are thinning out as far as their depth. And so you're right. There's probably not going to be a perfect team. I don't see that happening, but you hate to lose winnable games early in the year.
Especially not with the expansion of conference schedules. I mean, now with the SEC going to 9 conference games a year, and we're going to maintain some of the non-conference games out. Like, we're going to play Clemson every year.
Right.
But I'm sure that other SEC teams are going to have a respectable non-conference opponent each year as well. So when you're playing 10 Power 4 games a year, if not 11, it's just going to be hard. It's going to be harder than it's ever been to run the table, but that's okay. I don't have a problem with a national champion not having an undefeated record. I think that was one of the major flaws of the BCS is that, some people think that it takes away from the excitement of the regular season that, for example, Florida State beating Alabama week 1 just did not eliminate Alabama from the playoffs, and now Alabama beating Georgia has not eliminated Georgia from the playoffs. So they're saying that game has less significance. I disagree. I think that if you're a fan of your team, you want to see them win every week. I mean, do you think that the Virginia fans that rushed the field, you think that game mattered to them when they upset Florida State? I think that every game matters if you're a fan.
Right.
And I think that because teams are not eliminated from having a chance, like we're still sitting here hoping that we can run the table and sneak in. And every team is like that. Every fan wants their team to have a chance. And so because a loss does not eliminate you from getting hot and getting in, there are infinitely more teams with a chance of sneaking in week 10, 11, and 12. So for every game outcome at the first half of the season that has less significance, there are 25, 30 games in the last 3 weeks that mean everything because we're still trying to jockey for the last 4 spots. I've never watched a Georgia Tech Georgia game closer in my life than last year's game because I knew that the implications of that game were going to affect what happened with South Carolina. Same thing with Texas A&M Texas. So, and that's happening everywhere. It's great for the sport to have fan bases engaged with multiple conferences and teams and games because of how it impacts their team's playoff chances.
Yeah, no, you're spot on in that analysis. And this team, who knows, maybe 9-3 gets you in this year. There's going to be a lot of carnage. I mean, we saw, just to put a bow on last night's game, a win's a win, a home win by double digits. I was texting my buddy this morning. I'll never apologize for beating Mark Stoops' ass. Like, it feels good as shit to beat Kentucky by 3 touchdowns.
Right.
And despite the offense, and we didn't look great, we dominated the game after the first couple drives, and it was never in question. It was never in doubt. And I'll take that 10 times out of 10, especially coming off back-to-back losses in conference. So just to put a bow on that, and I will get on my soapbox here a little bit. Atmosphere was great at the beginning of the game. I know 7:45 is a tough kickoff for people, but in the fourth quarter, not that we were worried about losing the game, but the game was still in the balance. We had a 2-touchdown lead, but the stand started thinning out, and I was a little disappointed in that, just from my perspective of being a lifelong fan, and I want to stay in the game till the alma mater, till we sing the alma mater after the game, win or lose. And I was a little disappointed in that. And then we left the game and we sat in traffic for an hour, so that sucked ass too. But I thought people that left early would have been gone, but a little disappointed in that. And the fourth quarter atmosphere wasn't great, but also it was just kind of this Mike Shula running it up the middle. Let's just drain the clock. The defense is playing great. We don't have to force anything, because a mistake is what could get them back in the game. So I know we were playing very conservatively, but just a little disappointment there. But first half pregame, crowd was awesome, and so hopefully we can get a win at LSU, and then we have 2 big home games in October against Oklahoma and Bama. I know Oklahoma is going to be a nooner, but Bama could potentially be a 3:30 or night game. So hope to continue the momentum with the home crowd. But I definitely think we made a difference in the first half and got their freshman quarterback rattled, and he made the mistakes. That's what we talked about in the preview. Just make this guy beat us. And he couldn't beat us, and I'll take a win.
Absolutely.
10 times out of 10. So
absolutely,
the Gamecocks beat Kentucky 35-13 last night in Williams-Brice. That is our instant reaction. Let's talk about some of the other action, because this was a loaded slate.
Right.
And a lot of games that are going to impact, like you talked about, we don't think really anyone's going in undefeated. These games are going to matter when it comes to jockeying for position at the end of the year. Oregon beats Penn State. A lot of people were high on Penn State. I was never that high on them. I had Oregon in the DB Blitz. I said they were going to win outright, and they did. They let Penn State get back into it. They had a 2-touchdown lead in the second half, but that was a big game. Obviously, Bama, Georgia, we saw some questionable officiating in the Wake Forest Georgia Tech game. That was not necessarily a big game on the slate, but some questionable officiating that allowed Georgia Tech to get that game to overtime, which could be huge as they are battling for ACC championship, their position in the ACC standings, and a loss to Wake Forest, who isn't a great team, but shout out Robbie Ashford, the quarterback up there that played at South Carolina last year. Wake Forest should have won that game, but so that's going to have huge implications now. So Georgia Tech staying undefeated in the ACC.
I missed the call. What?
So Robbie Ashford did a hard count, and Georgia Tech jumped off sides, and so he just threw a bomb because he had to call free play, and they didn't make the call. They didn't call the offsides. So it was incomplete pass, 4th down. They had to punt. And then Georgia Tech drove down and kicked a field goal to send it to OT.
Okay.
So if they make that call, Wake Forest has the first down and they run the clock out, and Georgia Tech loses.
Wow.
So a tough break for Wake Forest, but that's huge for Georgia Tech, and we saw Alabama beat Georgia. And again, transitive property, everyone beating everyone. Georgia beats Tennessee. Florida State beats Alabama, and then they lose to UVA. Now Bama beats Georgia. Was it Florida State, Alabama a fluke? Was Bama Georgia a fluke? Was Georgia Tennessee? You don't know what's a fluke and what isn't. Who's good?
Well, I mean, and that's what I'm trying. That's what I was trying to articulate, is that I don't think that it is a fluke or this team is. I think that each week the matchups affect things. There's momentum. You catch lightning in a bottle. If we play Kentucky 10 times, I don't know that we have 2 defensive touchdowns more than the one time that it happened last night. If we play Vanderbilt 10 times, Lenoris doesn't get knocked out of the game more than one time. If we play Missouri 10 times, every game is unique. But what has happened has happened. We're 3-2, and we need to take this bye week, get healthy, and have an excellent game plan going into the LSU game. And if we can win that game on the road, it doesn't matter how we do it, and we may not be able to replicate how we do it. The important thing is getting the win. But yeah, I kind of touched on the games that I watched yesterday already, as far as like around the nation
Ross?
is concerned. Notre Dame thumped Arkansas.
Who is clear cut the number 1 team in the country?
If
I would say Ohio State.
If I had to make a poll right now, I would have Ohio State and Oregon 1 and 2 in some order, and probably Miami third.
I would probably have Ohio State 1, Miami 2, Oregon 3 at this point.
Right.
Yeah. Because, I mean, Miami's got a good resume. Ohio State's got a good resume. Oregon just got the big win at Penn State. But again,
is A&M going to sneak into the top 5 this week? Because they're undefeated.
They could.
And Georgia and LSU both lost.
Yep.
They were, 9?
Well, and everyone was really shitting on LSU being number 4 because
do you think
they got the road win against Clemson week 1, but Clemson sucks. And so everyone was like, LSU's not that impressive.
Right. Do you think that Ole Miss jumps A&M for beating LSU, or they just move both of them up?
I think A&M will be ranked above LSU. A&M will be ranked above Ole Miss.
Okay.
Because, I mean, A&M, that's a good SEC win against Auburn.
Yeah.
It's not like they got the win against Notre Dame. Notre Dame fell out of the rankings because they lost to Miami and Texas A&M, but those are now looking like 2 top 5 teams in the country.
Right.
And Notre Dame got their mojo back a little bit.
Yes.
Beat the shit out of Arkansas. Send us Sam Pittman. But that could get tricky. And I think, again, the AP, it's been widely discussed in the college football world that the AP poll is a joke. And these voters don't watch the games.
They're nerds.
They don't even know. They don't even know really what's going on. So we'll see. But the AP poll will probably someone will have a bone to pick with the AP poll anyway. But not that it matters. But it does drive narratives.
It drives narratives,
and especially for the College Football Playoff Committee. So everyone dismissing the AP poll also has to realize that when the College Football Playoff Committee starts ranking, they're going to say, "Oh."
Right.
They beat a ranked team. And
correct.
But it's based off that poll, which
correct.
is why they need to fix the AP poll.
It is very difficult to remove the psychology of assigning more value to a win because they are ranked.
Right.
Whether the AP poll is recognized by the College Football Playoff or not, which they say it isn't, but it's just natural. Like if you see a number next to a team's name, it affects it.
Yeah. Someone's at the door. I'll carry us home here. Oh, they were maybe checking to see. I'll carry us home here because we're going to talk about the DB Blitz to cap this episode. Your boy went 4-1, so F off everyone that was in my DMs with the hashtag FadeBeck. I went 4-1. Only loss was Washington. They didn't play great. I thought they were going to be able to be a home dog there against Ohio State, but again, people have kind of forgotten that Jeremiah Smith is still on Ohio State. He was widely considered the best player in the country. He had a quiet game against Texas, and then Ohio State really hadn't played anybody since, and so he hadn't gotten a lot of attention, but he had a great game yesterday, I saw, and Ohio State ended up covering at Washington, who only managed to score 6 points as they were averaging 58 this season, and I know that does have a lot to do with the competition, and Ohio State has a great defense, but I honestly think that's a great win for Ohio State at Washington. They are looking like they're the number one team in the country right now and deserve it, but 4-1 for your boy, so I am creeping back up. Only a 4-game difference now. So a 2-game swing this week, and I'm going to stay hot. So hashtag FadeBeck at your own risk.
Yeah, so I went 2-3, lost Florida State, won Notre Dame, lost Tennessee, lost Georgia, won South Carolina. I know that this is a record, but I think it should be said that South Carolina was a max bet for me. So despite my 2-3 record yesterday, I am up 3 units because, yes.
I think he did say though.
I said it was a max bet on the preview. I didn't disclose my units. Ross was trying to get me to reveal my units, which I did not and will not do. But I'm 2-0 on max bets now. The other one was NFL, so we won't get into all that. But yeah, once we hit 100,000 subscribers, I'll reveal my units.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, your boy 4-1. So I plan to stay hot. Carolina wins 35-13. 4-1 on the DB Blitz, 2-3 week, but he still is the season holder, the leader for the season. I'm a little hungover as my voice cracks. But
yeah, you've barely touched your Philly.
But I am now going to finish off the best Philly cheesesteak in Columbia. Gamecocks win. This was the instant reaction. We'll see y'all on Wednesday. It is a bye week, so we'll get creative with what we talk about on Wednesday since we won't have a game to preview. So
we would love with doing 2 weeks of preview on LSU.
We could do a little bit of preview, even though it's a bye week. But send us some questions on Twitter and Instagram.
Should we preview the UNC Clemson game since we're off and they're on?
We might have to talk about that, Belichick versus Dabo. But again, thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen or watch. We appreciate it and look forward to talking more Gamecock football. As always, go Cox.
Go Cox.